Let's get right into it. Number 9. The CIA's billion-dollar sunken submarine heist. Project Azorian, the CIA's most expensive underwater shopping trip. They tried to steal a Soviet nuclear submarine from 16,500 feet underwater. Back in 1968, a Soviet submarine called K-129 mysteriously disappeared in the Pacific Ocean. The Soviets looked everywhere but couldn't find it. But the CIA did. The CIA saw this as a golden opportunity to peek inside Soviet military tech. But no one had ever lifted something this big from this deep before. They called up Howard Hughes, the eccentric billionaire. They needed his name as a cover story for building a massive ship. They told everyone they were building a deep-sea mining vessel. Meanwhile, they were actually building a giant underwater claw machine. Think of those arcade claw machines, but instead of a teddy bear, you're trying to grab a 2,000-ton nuclear submarine. The ship they built was called the Hughes Glomar Explorer. It had a giant hole in the middle called a moon pool, where they planned to lift the submarine. The whole operation cost about $800 million back then. That's over $5 billion today. When reporters started asking questions, the CIA came up with the most famous non-answer in history. They would neither confirm nor deny the existence of the project. This response became so famous, it's now actually called the Glomar response. They managed to grab a piece of it, but as they were lifting it, a part of the submarine broke off and sank back down. What they did get was some Soviet codebooks, 2 nuclear-tipped torpedoes, and the bodies of 6 Soviet sailors. The CIA actually gave these sailors a proper burial at sea. In the middle of the Cold War, American spies held a secret funeral for Soviet sailors. The Soviets never knew about any of this until years later. Number 8. The American coup d'etat you never heard of. In 1898, Wilmington, North Carolina had its entire city government overthrown by an angry mob. Wilmington in 1898 was a successful city. It had a thriving black middle class, black-owned businesses, and a legally elected multiracial government. Black people could vote, own property, and run newspapers. On November 10, 1898, about 2,000 armed white men marched through the city. They burned down the Daily Record, the only black-owned newspaper in the city. Then they went on a rampage through the black neighborhoods. Historians now think the real death toll might be closer to 300. The mob forced the elected officials to resign at gunpoint. Then they installed their own government. The new government banished prominent black citizens and their white allies from the city. About 2,100 people had to flee their homes and businesses. For almost 100 years, this was either completely ignored by history books or described as a race riot, which is like calling a bank robbery a withdrawal dispute. The coup worked so well it became a blueprint. Other southern cities started copying Wilmington's playbook. Within a few years, black Americans across the South lost their voting rights, and Jim Crow laws popped up everywhere. It took until 2006 for North Carolina to officially admit what happened. Number 7. The lie that escalated the Vietnam War. It's 1964. America is looking for an excuse to jump into Vietnam. On August 2nd, the USS Maddox reports being attacked by North Vietnamese torpedo boats in the Gulf of Tonkin. 2 days later, another attack is reported. President Johnson goes on TV. He tells the American people we've been attacked. Congress gives him the power to wage war. Decades later, declassified documents revealed the second attack never happened. It was actually just some jumpy sailors shooting at waves and their own sonar reflections. We entered a war that would claim over 58,000 American lives because some guys got spooked by radar blips. That first attack wasn't what it seemed either. The USS Maddox was actually part of a secret operation called Oplan 34A, helping South Vietnamese commandos raid North Vietnamese facilities. So when North Vietnam attacked us without provocation, they were actually responding to us messing with them first. It's like punching someone in the face and then acting shocked when they punch back. The government knew all this. They knew the second attack was questionable. They knew we provoked the first one. They sold it to the American people as an unprovoked attack on innocent American ships. Number 6. The Unit 731 cover-up. Unit 731, Japan's secret human experiment facility during World War II. They called their victims logs because it was easier than thinking of them as human beings. The scientists were trying to develop biological weapons. They would deliberately freeze people's limbs to study frostbite, then thaw them out, then freeze them again. They would perform surgery on people without anesthesia to see how the human body reacted to trauma while conscious. They'd remove organs from living people just to see how long they could survive. Sometimes they'd remove someone's stomach and attach their esophagus directly to their intestines. Thousands of victims, men, women, and children. After Japan lost the war, America found out. Instead of prosecuting them for war crimes, they made a deal. Give us all your research data, and we'll pretend none of this ever happened. The US government kept this deal secret for decades, and Japan still hasn't fully acknowledged what happened there. Number 5. The day a city dropped a bomb on itself. May 13, 1985. Philadelphia decided to drop a bomb on its own citizens, a literal bomb, on an American city, by American police. The target was a row house where a black liberation group called MOVE lived. Neighbors had complained about their political speeches on bullhorns. Instead of handling this like a normal noise complaint, the city went full apocalypse mode. The police showed up with automatic weapons and fired over 10,000 rounds of ammunition at the house. Then they decided to drop a bomb from a helicopter. The bomb contained C4, a military-grade explosive. The bomb started a fire, but instead of putting it out, the police commissioner told firefighters to let it burn. This fire spread to 61 other houses, destroying an entire city block. 11 people died in that house, including 5 children. No one from the city ever faced criminal charges for dropping a bomb on American citizens. The bones of 2 children killed in the bombing were kept by the University of Pennsylvania for years. They were used as a case study in an online forensics course. The university didn't even bother to tell the families. Number 4. The business plot. In 1933, a group of wealthy businessmen tried to overthrow the President of the United States. This isn't a conspiracy theory. It's documented in congressional records. It was the height of the Great Depression. Franklin D. Roosevelt was rolling out his New Deal. The super rich weren't happy. They thought FDR was going to destroy America with socialist policies, so they came up with a plan to overthrow him and install a fascist dictatorship. They decided to recruit a military leader for their private army of 500,000 veterans. They chose General Smedley Butler, the most decorated Marine in U.S. history at the time. What they didn't know is that Butler absolutely hated them. He famously wrote a book called War is a Racket, calling himself a high-class muscle man for big business. When the plotters approached him, Butler played along, then went straight to Congress and spilled everything. A congressional committee investigated and confirmed that parts of Butler's story were true. There had indeed been discussions of a plan to overthrow the government. Some of the biggest names in American business were implicated, including representatives of J.P. Morgan and the DuPont family. Nobody was ever prosecuted. When you're rich enough to try to overthrow the government, you're rich enough to avoid the consequences. Number 3. The Tuskegee Syphilis Study. For 40 years, the U.S. government experimented on its own citizens in one of the most horrifying medical studies in American history. In 1932, the U.S. Public Health Service recruited 600 poor African-American men in Alabama. 399 of them had syphilis. The doctors told them they were being treated for bad blood and would get free health care. They weren't getting health care at all. They were being turned into walking lab experiments. Instead of treating them, the researchers wanted to watch what happens when syphilis goes untreated, all the way to a painful death. They even gave the men fake medicine, like colored water. In the 1940s, penicillin became the standard cure for syphilis. The researchers didn't just hide this cure from the men, they went out of their way to prevent them from getting it, sending letters to other doctors in the area telling them not to treat these patients. The study went on for 4 decades. By the time a whistleblower exposed it in 1972, many men had died from syphilis, many of their wives became infected, and some of their children were born with the disease. The study was so horrific it completely changed the rules for medical research. Number 2. COINTELPRO, the FBI's secret war on Americans. From 1956 to 1971, the FBI ran a secret program called COINTELPRO. The goal wasn't just to monitor people, it was to destroy the lives of American citizens. The FBI broke into homes, planted fake evidence, and spread rumors. They wrote fake letters to spouses claiming affairs. They got people fired from their jobs. They went after civil rights activists, anti-war protesters, and women's rights groups. They tried to blackmail Martin Luther King Jr. into killing himself. The FBI sent King an anonymous letter detailing his private life and telling him to commit suicide or be exposed. They didn't just spy, they actively worked to neutralize groups. In one case, they gave Chicago police a detailed floor plan of Black Panther leader Fred Hampton's apartment. He was shot and killed in his bed during a police raid. This might have gone on forever if activists hadn't broken into an FBI office in 1971. They stole documents and mailed them to newspapers, exposing the entire program. Congress investigated, and the FBI had to officially end it, officially being the key word. Number 1. Operation Northwoods. In 1962, America's top military leaders, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, signed off on a plan to stage fake terrorist attacks on American soil, kill innocent citizens, and blame it all on Cuba. This was Operation Northwoods, and it was 100% real. The declassified document is available online. The plan was to create an excuse to invade Cuba. The proposals included blowing up an American ship in Guantanamo Bay, staging terrorist attacks in Miami and other Florida cities, sinking boats full of Cuban refugees on the high seas. But the most shocking plan was for a fake airplane attack. They planned to fill a civilian airplane with CIA agents posing as college students. The plane would take off, and a remote-controlled drone, painted to look identical, would take its place. This drone would then fly over Cuba and send out a distress signal saying it was under attack by Cuban forces before being blown up mid-air. The media would report that Cuba had shot down a plane full of innocent American college students. The public would be outraged, and the U.S. would have its excuse for war. President John F. Kennedy took one look at the plan, rejected it immediately, and fired the general who proposed it. The document stayed classified for nearly 40 years. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.